When did you discover your mother had been drugging you? I'm staring at the orange prescription bottle in my trembling hands, and the name on the label isn't mine. It's my mother's. Lorazepam, 1 milligram tablets. Prescribed 3 months ago, but the bottle is nearly empty. The pieces are falling into place like shards of glass, each one cutting deeper than the last. I found it 20 minutes ago while looking for Mom's heating pad in her nightstand drawer. She's at her book club meeting, won't be back until 9. That gives me maybe 2 hours to figure out what the hell has been happening to me. For the past 2 years, I've felt like I'm living underwater. My thoughts move like molasses, my ambitions reduced to whispers I can barely hear. The Sarah who graduated high school with a 4.2 GPA and dreams of studying international relations at Oxford? She's been buried under this suffocating fog that I blamed on everything else. Stress. Burnout. The adjustment to community college instead of the university experience I'd planned. But now I'm holding the smoking gun. I sink onto Mom's perfectly made bed, my legs suddenly unsteady. The bottle feels impossibly heavy in my palm. Prescribed to Margaret Chin, my mother. Dispensed every 3 months like clockwork. I do the math quickly. If she's supposed to take 1 pill as needed for anxiety, this bottle should last much longer than 3 months. Unless she's not the one taking them. My stomach lurches as I remember this morning's breakfast. Mom's special French toast, the kind she makes only for me. Extra cinnamon, she always says with that loving smile. Just how my baby likes it. I've been eating her cooking almost exclusively for 2 years now. She insists on it, gets upset when I suggest ordering takeout or eating on campus. Home cooking is better for you, honey. You know how those restaurant kitchens are. I stumble to my feet and race to the kitchen, yanking open the spice cabinet with shaking hands. There's the cinnamon container, right where it always sits. But when I unscrew the lid, my world tilts sideways. Mixed in with the brown powder are tiny white fragments. Pill fragments. The container slips from my numb fingers, scattering its contents across the tile floor. The evidence is right there at my feet, cinnamon mixed with what I now know are crushed anxiety medications. 2 years. 24 months of stolen time, stolen dreams, stolen choices. I grab my phone and Google lorazepam side effects. The list reads like a catalog of my recent life: drowsiness, confusion, decreased motivation, memory problems, difficulty concentrating. Every symptom that made me question whether I was just lazy, whether I was depressed, whether something was fundamentally wrong with me. Something was wrong, but not with me. I think about the Oxford application I started and abandoned 6 times. The study abroad programs I bookmarked but never applied for. The friends who stopped calling because I became too tired, too spacey, too different from the driven girl they used to know. I blamed myself for all of it. The garage door rumbles to life. Mom's home early. I quickly sweep the spilled cinnamon mixture into my palm and dump it back into the container, my heart hammering against my ribs. The prescription bottle goes back exactly where I found it in her drawer. By the time her key turns in the front door, I'm sitting at the kitchen island with my laptop open, pretending to work on homework that feels impossible through the pharmaceutical haze she's been feeding me. "Hi, sweetheart," Mom calls out cheerfully. "How was your day?" I look up at her with new eyes, seeing a stranger wearing my mother's face. "Fine," I lie, my voice surprisingly steady. "Just fine." Mom bustles around the kitchen, unpacking groceries from her book club stop. She pulls out ingredients for dinner, my favorite pasta dish, of course. Always my favorites. Always made with such loving care. Mrs. Peterson wasn't feeling well, so we cut book club short, she explains, arranging tomatoes on the counter. Perfect timing though. I can make us a nice dinner together. I watch her hands as she moves, those same hands that have been crushing pills into my food for 2 years. They look so normal, so maternal. The same hands that braided my hair when I was little, that checked my forehead for fevers, that applauded at my high school graduation when I gave the valedictorian speech about chasing your dreams fearlessly. The irony tastes like poison in my mouth. "Actually, I'm not very hungry," I say, testing the waters. "I had a late lunch." Her smile falters for just a microsecond before snapping back into place. "Nonsense, honey. You barely ate anything this morning. You need proper nutrition." This morning. The French toast. I remember feeling especially drowsy after breakfast, nearly falling asleep in my economics class. Professor Martinez had to call my name twice to get my attention when he asked about the assignment I'd forgotten to complete. Again. I'm really not. Sarah Elizabeth Chen. Her voice takes on that familiar firm edge, the one that's been conditioning me for years to comply. "You're getting too thin. I worry about you." I am thin. Thinner than I used to be. I assumed it was stress, but now I wonder if it's a side effect of whatever cocktail she's been serving me. I close my laptop slowly, buying time to think. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." She's already heating olive oil in the pan, her movements efficient and practiced. "Do you remember when I was going to apply to that summer program in Prague? The one for international studies?" Her hand pauses on the wooden spoon. Vaguely. "Why?" I was so excited about it. I had my whole application ready, my essay written. But then I just didn't send it. I can't remember why. "Oh, honey." She turns to face me, her expression perfectly calibrated to show gentle concern. "You were overwhelmed that semester. You came to me crying about how stressed you felt, how you weren't sure you could handle being so far from home. Don't you remember? We talked about it for hours. The scary thing is, I almost believe her. The memories from that time are so hazy, so fragmented. Did I really come to her crying? Or has she been crafting this narrative so carefully that I can't tell the difference between truth and manipulation anymore?" "Right," I say slowly. "I guess I forgot. The medication can affect memory," she says, then freezes. The words hang in the air between us like a confession. I watch her face cycle through emotions, panic, calculation, and finally a forced laugh. "I mean, you know, the birth control you started around then. Dr. Williams mentioned memory issues as a side effect when I took you to that appointment. But I'm not on birth control. I haven't been to Dr. Williams in over a year. And Mom knows I know that." We stare at each other across the kitchen island, and I realize she knows that I know. The careful facade is cracking, and underneath it, I catch a glimpse of something desperate and cold. Why don't you set the table, sweetheart, she says quietly, turning back to the stove. Dinner will be ready soon. Her hand moves toward the spice cabinet. I watch her reach for that cinnamon container, the one I know contains crushed lorazepam, and something snaps into focus. For the first time in 2 years, my mind feels sharp enough to cut glass. Actually, Mom, I think I'll skip dinner tonight. I stand up from the kitchen island, my laptop clutched against my chest like armor. I'm meeting Jessica at the library to study. Jessica Martinez. My former best friend who stopped calling 6 months ago after I flaked on plans one too many times. The lie rolls off my tongue easily, but Mom's shoulders tense. The library closes at 8 on Thursdays, she says without turning around. You'll be hungry when you get back. The fact that she knows the library's Thursday hours, information she'd only need if she's been tracking my whereabouts, sends ice through my veins. How long has she been monitoring my schedule this closely? I'll grab something on campus, I say, already moving toward the hallway. Sarah. Her voice stops me cold. When I turn, she's holding a wooden spoon like a weapon, her knuckles wide around the handle. You've been acting strange today. Are you feeling all right? The concern in her voice sounds genuine, but I can see the calculation in her eyes. She's trying to figure out what I know, how much danger she's in. I feel fine, Mom. Actually, I feel clearer than I have in months. Wrong thing to say. Her face goes pale. Clearer how? I could backtrack. Make up some excuse about getting more sleep or drinking more coffee. But standing here looking at her, really looking at her, I see someone who has stolen 2 years of my life with such methodical precision that she has my schedule memorized to track her dosing. I found your pills, I say quietly. The wooden spoon clatters to the floor. For a moment, we just stare at each other. Then Mom's expression shifts into something I've never seen before, not anger exactly, but a cold kind of desperation that makes my skin crawl. I don't know what you think you found, but... lorazepam. In your nightstand. Prescribed every 3 months, but you're going through bottles way too fast. My voice is steadier than I feel. I found it in the cinnamon container too. She doesn't deny it. Instead, she sinks into one of the kitchen chairs, suddenly looking older than her 52 years. You don't understand, she whispers. After your father died, I couldn't lose you too. You were talking about Oxford, about studying in Prague, about all these places so far away from me. You were going to leave me all alone. Dad died 3 years ago. The timeline clicks into place with horrible clarity. So you decided to drug me into staying? I was protecting you. The words explode out of her with startling force. Do you know what the world is like for young women traveling alone? The dangers you were so eager to run toward? I saved you from making terrible mistakes. You saved yourself from being lonely. The words taste bitter. You stole my life to fix yours. Mom stands up abruptly, her chair scraping against the tile. I gave you everything. I kept you safe, fed, loved. I sacrificed my own happiness to take care of you after your father died, and this is how you repay me? The manipulation is so smooth, so practiced, that I almost feel guilty for a split second. Almost. But then I remember the Oxford application I couldn't focus long enough to complete. The friends who gave up on me. The version of myself I used to be before she decided that version was too inconvenient. How long were you planning to keep drugging me? I ask. She doesn't answer, but she doesn't need to. The look in her eyes tells me everything, she never planned to stop. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Without breaking eye contact, I pull it out and see a text from my advisor about next semester's course registration deadline. Something about that ordinary message from the outside world breaks the spell of this kitchen, this house, this prison disguised as home. I'm leaving, I say. No, you're not. Watch me. I turn toward the hallway, but Mom moves faster than I've seen her move in years, blocking my path to the front door. For someone who's been playing the role of fragile widow, she's surprisingly quick. Sarah, sit down. We need to talk about this rationally. Rationally? I laugh, and it sounds harsh even to my own ears. You've been secretly medicating me for 2 years. There's nothing rational about this conversation. Lower your voice. She glances toward the windows, and I realize she's worried about the neighbors hearing. Mrs. Kim next door has been watering her garden every evening at exactly this time since we moved to Maple Street 8 years ago. You're being dramatic. I'm being dramatic? My voice cracks. Mom, you literally turned me into a drug addict without my consent. Do you understand that? I've been taking psychiatric medication for 2 years without knowing it. My body is probably dependent on it now. The color drains from her face. I don't think she'd considered the physical implications of what she's been doing. The doses were very small, she says weakly. Just enough to help you relax. To make you less anxious about leaving. How small? How much have you been giving me? I need to know. If I'm going to figure out how to safely stop taking whatever cocktail she's been feeding me, I need numbers. She wraps her arms around herself, suddenly looking small. Half a pill. Sometimes a quarter. Never more than that. How often? Not every day, she says quickly. Just when you seemed restless. When you started talking about applications or travel or... She trails off. Or what? Or when you mentioned that boy. David. David Chen, no relation, despite the shared last name. I met him in my political science class last semester. He was a transfer student from UC Berkeley, funny and ambitious, with plans to join the Peace Corps after graduation. We'd grabbed coffee a few times, talked about his semester in Vietnam, his stories about teaching English in rural villages. I haven't thought about David in months. Why haven't I thought about David in months? What did you do when I mentioned David? Mom's silence is answer enough. I sink against the wall as the memory comes flooding back, not the hazy, fragmented version I've been carrying, but the real one. David had asked me to a movie. Some foreign film about journalists in war zones. I'd been excited, had even bought a new sweater to wear. But the morning of our date, I'd felt so impossibly tired after breakfast that I'd called him to cancel. Then I'd slept for 14 straight hours. You drugged me the day I was supposed to go out with him. He was going to fill your head with more ideas about traveling. About dangerous places and risky adventures. I could see it in your eyes when you talked about him. You destroyed a relationship before it even started because you were afraid he might encourage me to live my own life. I was protecting you from someone who would have taken you away from me. Her voice echoes off the kitchen walls, and I realize we're both shouting now. Part of me hopes Mrs. Kim is listening. Part of me hopes someone, anyone, can hear what's happening in this house that looks so normal from the outside. Stop saying you were protecting me. You were protecting yourself. I push away from the wall, and this time she doesn't try to block me. And now I'm going to protect myself from you. I head for the stairs. I need my documents, passport, birth certificate, social security card. If I'm going to leave, really leave, I need proof that I exist outside of this house. Where are you going? Mom follows me up the stairs, her voice taking on a pleading quality I've never heard before. To pack. You can't just leave, Sarah. You don't have anywhere to go. You don't have any money saved. Your grades aren't good enough for scholarships anymore. She's right about the money and probably right about the grades. 2 years of being involuntarily medicated haven't exactly helped my GPA. But she's wrong about one thing, I do have somewhere to go. I'll figure it out. No, you won't. Her voice turns cold again. You'll come crawling back here within a week, and then we can discuss getting you some real help. Professional help. I freeze with my hand on my bedroom doorknob. What kind of professional help? There are programs for young adults who are struggling with reality. Residential facilities where? You're threatening to have me committed? The silence stretches between us like a chasm. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. I'm trying to save my daughter. Your daughter died 2 years ago, I say, opening my bedroom door. You killed her when you decided she wasn't convenient enough. I close the door behind me and turn the lock, knowing it won't keep her out for long but needing the illusion of safety while I figure out my next move. My phone shows 3 missed calls from Jessica Martinez. Maybe some friendships can be rebuilt after all. I call Jessica back with trembling fingers, praying she'll answer despite months of radio silence from me. Sarah? Her voice is cautious. I saw you call 3 times. Is everything okay? The concern in her tone almost breaks me. Jessica was my best friend through high school, my study partner, my voice of reason when I got too caught up in my own ambitions. She deserves an explanation for why I vanished from her life, but I don't know where to start. Jess, I need help. Can I come stay with you tonight? Just one night, I promise. Of course, but what's wrong? You sound. I'll explain everything when I get there. Are you at your apartment? Yeah, but Sarah, you're scaring me. I'm scaring myself, I admit, shoving clothes into my old high school backpack. I'll be there in an hour. After we hang up, I sit on my bed and stare at my laptop screen. I need to document everything while my memory is still clear. 2 years of fog are lifting, but I don't trust my brain to hold on to all the details once the medication fully leaves my system. I create a new document and title it Timeline. Then I start typing. Asterisk June 2021, Dad dies. Mom becomes increasingly clingy asterisk. September 2021, started community college instead of University of Washington, still don't remember changing my mind about this. October 2021, Oxford application abandoned, felt too tired to complete essays. December 2021, stopped talking to David Chen after canceling our date. March 2022, Jessica stops calling regularly. July 2022, Prague summer program deadline passes, I never applied. January 2023, sleeping 12 plus hours per day becomes normal. The list goes on, each entry marking another piece of my life that disappeared. I save the document to my cloud storage and email it to myself at 3 different addresses. If Mom tries to delete it locally, I'll still have copies. A soft knock on my door makes me freeze. Sarah? Sweetheart? Mom's voice is gentle again, the kind she used when I was little and afraid of thunderstorms. I made your favorite tea. Chamomile with honey. I stare at the door, horrified by how tempting it sounds. Even knowing what she's done, part of me wants to open that door and pretend this conversation never happened. That's the scariest part, the pull of familiar comfort, even when that comfort is poison. I'm not thirsty, I call back. Please, honey. Let me in. We can figure this out together. Together. Like we're partners in solving a problem instead of victim and perpetrator of a crime. I wonder how many times she's used that word to make me complicit in my own imprisonment. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number, asterisk this is David Chen from your poli-sci class. I know this is random, but I've been thinking about you lately. How are you doing, asterisk? The timing feels like a sign. I quickly type back, asterisk I'm okay. Actually, can I ask you something? Do you remember asking me to see a movie last fall, asterisk? His response comes fast, asterisk yes. You seemed excited but then canceled day of. Said you felt sick. I was bummed but figured I'd misread your interest. Why, asterisk? So I hadn't imagined his disappointment. I hadn't misread the situation. Mom's intervention had cost me more than just a movie, it had made me doubt my own judgment about human connections. I text back, asterisk long story. Rain check on that movie, asterisk. Asterisk absolutely. Feel better, Sarah, asterisk. The kindness in his message makes my chest tight. How many opportunities has she stolen? How many connections has she severed before they could form? Sarah Elizabeth, I'm getting worried. Mom's voice has an edge now. Open this door right now. I shoulder my backpack and move to the window. We're only on the 2nd floor, and there's a trellis covered in Mom's prized climbing roses. It'll hurt, but it's doable. I'm calling Dr. Reyes, she announces. I think you're having some kind of breakdown. Dr. Reyes is our family physician. He's known me since I was 12 and would absolutely believe Mom's version of events, that I'm delusional, paranoid, making wild accusations. He might even recommend that residential facility she mentioned. I need to get out of here before she can start building a narrative that makes me the crazy one. The window slides open with a soft screech. Cool October air hits my face, and for the first time in hours, I can breathe properly. Sarah? Mom's voice is right outside my door now. I'm coming in. I swing one leg over the windowsill just as I hear her key turning in the lock. I'm halfway out the window when my bedroom door swings open behind me. Sarah, what are you? Oh my god. I don't look back. The trellis creaks under my weight as I scramble down, thorns from Mom's prize-winning roses tearing at my jacket and scraping my arms. My backpack catches on a particularly thick vine, and for a terrifying second I'm suspended between the second-floor window and the ground, watching Mom's face appear above me. Get back here right now. You're going to hurt yourself. My backpack tears free and I half fall, half climb the rest of the way down, landing hard on the mulch around Mom's flower bed. Pain shoots through my left ankle, but I can still walk. I have to be able to walk. Sarah Elizabeth Chen, if you leave this property, I'm calling the police. I limp run toward my car, fumbling for keys with shaking hands. Mom's voice follows me across the yard, high and frantic now, the careful maternal mask completely gone. I'll tell them you stole money from me. That you're on drugs. They'll arrest you. My car door slams shut just as she reaches the front porch. In the rearview mirror, I see her standing there in her cream cardigan and house slippers, looking like any other suburban mother except for the wild desperation in her eyes. I'm 3 blocks away when my phone starts buzzing. Mom's name flashes on the screen again and again. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity gets the better of me at the first red light. Sarah, honey, please come home. I know you're upset, but you're not thinking clearly. The medication, stopping it suddenly can cause paranoia, delusions. Dr. Reyes explained this to me years ago when your father was prescribed similar medication for his anxiety. Please don't make me worry like this. I love you so much. The voicemail ends and immediately another one starts. Sarah, I'm scared for you. I called Mrs. Martinez, Jessica's mother, and she said you're coming over. I had to tell her you might be having an episode. She's worried too now. Please just come home and we'll figure this out together. My blood runs cold. She called Jessica's mom. Which means by the time I get to Jessica's apartment, her whole family will think I'm having a mental breakdown. I pull over and call Jessica directly. Sarah? Where are you? My mom just called and said your mother is worried you might be. Jess, whatever she told your mom, it's not true. I cut her off, watching cars pass by on Maple Avenue, normal people living normal lives while mine explodes in real time. My mother has been putting anxiety medication in my food for 2 years without telling me. I found the pills. I have proof. Silence. Then, Sarah, that sounds crazy. I know how it sounds. I press my forehead against the steering wheel. But I have the pill bottles. I took pictures. I can show you the cinnamon container with the crushed medication in it. Okay, Jessica says slowly. Okay, come over. But Sarah, if this is what you think happened, shouldn't you be calling the police? Or going to a hospital? She's right, but the thought of trying to explain this to strangers terrifies me. What if they don't believe me? What if Mom's already called them with her version of events? What if whatever she's been giving me shows up in a blood test and they think I'm a drug user having a psychotic break? I need to think. I need somewhere safe to think. Then come here. But drive carefully, okay? If you've really been, if what you're saying is true, then you might not be safe to drive. Another thing I hadn't considered. What if I'm still impaired? What if I crash and hurt someone? I check my hands on the steering wheel, steady. My vision is clear, clearer than it's been in months. But Jessica's right to be worried. I'll be careful. Are you sure your mom won't call my mother back? I'll handle my mom. Just get here safely. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in Jessica's tiny apartment kitchen, spreading evidence across her table like I'm building a legal case. The pill bottles, photos of the cinnamon container, screenshots of my timeline document. Jessica examines each piece with a methodical focus that made her such a good lab partner in high school chemistry. This prescription, she says, holding up one of the bottles I'd photographed. It's dated August 15th, but look at the quantity remaining. I lean closer. The label says 30 pills dispensed, but there are maybe 8 left in the bottle. She got it 7 weeks ago. If she was taking them as prescribed, 1 is needed for anxiety, this bottle should be nearly full. Jessica's pre-med training is showing. But if she's been crushing them into your food regularly, the math works out. I feel sick. Jess, what if I'm physically dependent on this stuff? What if stopping suddenly is dangerous? She's already pulling up medical websites on her laptop. Lorazepam withdrawal can cause seizures in severe cases, but that's usually with much higher doses over longer periods. Still, you should probably taper off gradually instead of stopping cold turkey. How am I supposed to taper off when my mother is the one controlling the dosage? The question hangs in the air between us. Jessica closes her laptop and looks at me directly for the first time since I arrived. Sarah, you need to file a police report. Tonight. My phone buzzes. Another voicemail from Mom, followed immediately by a text. Asterisk Dr. Reyes wants to see you first thing tomorrow morning. I told him about your paranoid episode. He's very concerned, asterisk. She's building a narrative, I whisper, showing Jessica the text. She's getting ahead of this. Then we get ahead of her. Jessica stands up, grabbing her keys. We're going to the police station right now, and we're taking all of this with us. The police station lobby smells like disinfectant and burnt coffee. It's nearly 10 p.m., and the fluorescent lights make everything look sickly yellow. Jessica sits beside me, my evidence folder clutched in her lap, while we wait for Detective Rodriguez to finish with whatever domestic disturbance call came in 20 minutes ago. My phone has buzzed 17 times since we arrived. Mom, Dr. Reyes, even Mrs. Peterson from book club. Mom's mobilized her entire support network to paint me as unstable before I can tell my side of the story. The latest text is from Mom, asterisk Sarah, Dr. Reyes says stopping psychiatric medication suddenly can cause severe paranoia and false memories. Please let us help you before you do something you can't take back, asterisk. False memories. The phrase makes my skin crawl because it's so perfectly calculated. How do you prove something happened when the other person claims your brain is manufacturing fake evidence? Chen family? Detective Rodriguez appears in the doorway, a tired-looking woman in her 40s with kind eyes. I'm sorry for the wait. We follow her into a small interview room with beige walls and a table that's seen better days. She settles across from us with a notepad and a cup of coffee that looks as burnt as it smelled in the lobby. I understand this involves possible medication tampering, she says. That's a serious allegation. I spread my evidence across the table, photos of the prescription bottles, the cinnamon container, my timeline document. My hands shake slightly as I explain everything, from finding the lorazepam to discovering the crushed pills mixed with spice. Detective Rodriguez listens without interrupting, occasionally making notes. When I finish, she studies the photos more closely. These prescription bottles, they're in your mother's name? Yes. Margaret Chen. But she's been crushing them into my food without my knowledge. And you have samples of the contaminated cinnamon? My heart sinks. No, I was panicked. I put it back so she wouldn't know I'd found it. So the physical evidence is still in your mother's house? Yes, but she might have disposed of it by now. She knows I know. Detective Rodriguez leans back in her chair, and I can see her mentally cataloging the weakness in my case. No physical samples. No medical records showing the drugs in my system. Just photos that could show anything and a story that sounds exactly like what someone having a paranoid episode might invent. Has your mother ever been physically violent with you? No, never. She's always been loving. Overprotective, but loving. Any history of mental illness in your family? I hesitate. My father had anxiety. Depression after he lost his job in 2019. But that was situational, and he got better with counseling. And your mother mentioned you're seeing Dr. Reyes tomorrow? She made that appointment without asking me. She's telling him I'm having some kind of breakdown. Detective Rodriguez sets down her pen. Miss Chen, I want to help you, but I need you to understand the position we're in. What you're describing is very serious. Drugging someone without consent is assault. But right now, it's your word against your mother's, and she has a medical professional backing her version of events. So you don't believe me? I'm not saying that. But we need more than photos and allegations to move forward with charges. We'd need proof that these substances were in your system, contaminated food samples, evidence of purchase or possession with intent to harm. Jessica leans forward. What about a blood test? If Sarah's been taking lorazepam for 2 years, wouldn't it show up? Possibly, but lorazepam has a short half-life. If she hasn't had any in the last day or two, it might not be detectable. And even if it is, that doesn't prove how it got there. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Dr. Reyes himself. Sarah, your mother is very worried. I've known your family for 10 years, and I think we can work through this together. Please come in tomorrow so we can discuss treatment options. Treatment options. Like I'm the one who needs fixing. There's something else, I say quietly. My mother threatened to have me committed to a residential facility if I didn't comply. Is that legal? Detective Rodriguez's expression sharpens. She threatened involuntary commitment? She said there are programs for young adults who are struggling with reality. Residential facilities. Did anyone else hear her say this? No, we were alone in the house. Rodriguez writes something in her notepad. In California, involuntary psychiatric holds require specific criteria: immediate danger to self or others, or grave disability. A family member can't just have someone committed because they're difficult. But she's a nurse, I realize suddenly. Mom's a pediatric nurse at Children's Hospital. She knows medical terminology, knows how to describe symptoms to make them sound more serious than they are. What's her full name and place of employment? Margaret Lisa Chen, Children's Hospital of Orange County. She works in the cardiac unit. Rodriguez makes more notes. That's actually helpful information. Medical professionals are held to higher standards when it comes to medication handling and patient consent. For the first time since we walked in here, I feel a spark of hope. What happens next? Jessica asks. I'm going to file an incident report and start a preliminary investigation. Miss Chen, I strongly recommend you get that blood test tonight, even if the results aren't conclusive. And document everything, every phone call, every text message, every conversation. She slides a business card across the table. If your mother tries to force you into any kind of medical evaluation or treatment, call me immediately. And whatever you do, don't eat anything she's prepared. As we leave the police station, my phone rings. Mom's name flashes on the screen, and for the first time tonight, I answer. Sarah, thank God. Where are you? I've been so worried. I'm safe, I interrupt. And I'm not coming home. Honey, you need help. Dr. Reyes explained that stopping medication abruptly can cause. I never consented to taking medication in the first place. The line goes quiet for a long moment. When Mom speaks again, her voice is different, colder, more calculated. I think you're very sick, Sarah. Sicker than I realized. But don't worry. We're going to get you the help you need. The call ends, and I stare at my phone screen with growing dread. Something tells me the real battle is just beginning. The blood test results arrive via email at 6:47 a.m., and my hands shake as I open the attachment on Jessica's laptop. Lorazepam detected, 0.8 milligrams per liter. The reference range shows therapeutic levels between 0.02 to 0.25 mg/L. I've been walking around with more than 3 times the normal amount in my system. Jesus, Jessica whispers, reading over my shoulder. Sarah, this is proof. I screenshot everything and immediately forward it to Detective Rodriguez, but my relief is short-lived. My phone starts ringing, Dr. Reyes. Don't answer it, Jessica warns, but I'm already swiping to accept. Sarah, I need you to come in immediately. His voice is urgent, professional. Your mother showed me some very concerning text messages you sent last night. Messages about harming yourself. My stomach drops. I never sent any messages about harming myself. Sarah, I have them right here. You texted your mother at 11:43 p.m. saying you couldn't handle the truth about your father's death, that you wanted to make the pain stop forever. Your mother is beside herself. Dr. Reyes, I was at the police station at 11:43 p.m. Detective Rodriguez can verify that. Silence. Then, the police station? Sarah, why were you at the police station? Because my mother has been secretly medicating me for 2 years. I have blood test results proving I have therapeutic levels of lorazepam in my system, medication I never consented to take. That's a very serious accusation. Sarah, I need you to understand that abruptly stopping psychiatric medication can cause severe paranoid ideation. False memories. Delusions of persecution. The medical gaslighting is so smooth it almost works. For a split second, I wonder if I really did send those texts during some kind of blackout. But then Jessica holds up her phone, photos of me sitting in the police station at exactly 11:43 p.m., timestamp clearly visible. Dr. Reyes, I'm going to send you my blood work and ask you to compare it with my medical records. When was the last time you prescribed lorazepam for me? I've never prescribed lorazepam for you, Sarah. But that doesn't mean. It means someone else has been giving it to me without medical supervision. That's called poisoning. I hang up and immediately call Detective Rodriguez. Rodriguez. Detective, it's Sarah Chen. My mother is creating fake text messages to make it look like I'm suicidal. And I have my blood test results, positive for lorazepam at 3 times therapeutic levels. Slow down. Fake text messages? Dr. Reyes just called saying my mother showed him texts I supposedly sent about harming myself last night at 11:43. But I was at the police station with you at that time. Can you prove your location? Jessica took photos of me at the station. They're timestamped. Good. Forward me those photos and the blood work immediately. I'm going to need you to come back in this morning. After I hang up, Jessica paces around her tiny living room. Sarah, if your mom is faking text messages, what else might she be faking? Medical records? Documentation for that involuntary commitment? My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, this is Dr. Patricia Henley from Willow Creek Residential Treatment Center. Your mother has contacted us about an intake evaluation. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Asterisk. She's already contacted a facility, I whisper, showing Jessica the message. Jessica grabs her laptop and starts typing. Willow Creek Residential Treatment Center. Oh my God, Sarah. Look at this. The website shows a pristine facility nestled in the mountains, with copy about healing from trauma and delusions and specialized care for young adults experiencing reality distortion. The program description mentions limited outside communication during the initial stabilization period and family-guided treatment planning. It's a prison disguised as therapy. How long are their programs? I ask, though I'm afraid of the answer. Minimum 6 months. Maximum 2 years depending on progress and family consultation. Jessica's voice is grim. Sarah, if she gets you committed there, you could disappear for years. My phone rings again, Mom this time. I let it go to voicemail, but play it immediately. Sarah, sweetheart, I know you're scared and confused right now. Dr. Henley seems lovely, and the facility has beautiful grounds where you can rest and recover. I've already started the paperwork. Dr. Reyes agrees that intensive treatment is our best option given your episode last night. Please call me back so we can discuss the travel arrangements. Travel arrangements. Like I'm going on vacation instead of being shipped off to institutional captivity. We need to get to the police station now, I say, grabbing my jacket. But as we step outside Jessica's apartment building, I freeze. Mom's silver Honda Accord is parked across the street, and she's sitting in the driver's seat with her phone pressed to her ear. She sees me and waves like nothing's wrong, like this is a normal mother picking up her daughter. Get back inside, Jessica whispers, but it's too late. Mom gets out of her car and starts walking toward us, her face a mask of concerned maternal love. Sarah, honey, thank goodness. I've been so worried. Dr. Reyes is waiting for us at his office. She's close enough now that I can see she's been crying, or at least wants us to think she has. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her makeup slightly smeared. I'm not going anywhere with you, I say, backing toward Jessica's door. Of course you are, sweetheart. You're sick. You need help. She pulls out her phone and shows me the screen. Look, you sent me this last night. You're in pain, baby. Let me help you. The text message thread shows my name sending increasingly desperate messages about wanting the pain to stop, about not being able to live with the truth. The timestamp span from 11:30 p.m. to nearly 2 a.m. It's completely fabricated, but it looks absolutely real. I was never alone with my phone last night, I say. Jessica was with me the entire time. Mom's eyes flit to Jessica with something that might be hatred before the concerned expression slides back into place. Jessica, honey, I know Sarah's been saying some very strange things, but she's not well. Dr. Reyes explained that stopping psychiatric medication can cause paranoid delusions. She might even believe her own false memories. Jessica steps closer to me. Mrs. Chen, Sarah has blood test results showing exactly what we'd expect, Mom interrupts smoothly. Residual medication in her system from the prescription Dr. Reyes gave her last month for test anxiety. The same prescription she's apparently forgotten about due to her current mental state. The lie is so confident, so detailed, that for a moment I almost doubt myself. Did Dr. Reyes prescribe something? Am I forgetting? But then I remember the cinnamon container, the hidden pill bottles, 2 years of stolen dreams. You're lying, I say quietly. Mom's mask slips for just a second, and I see the cold calculation underneath. Then she's reaching into her purse, and my blood turns to ice. She's not reaching for tissues or car keys. She's reaching for a syringe. Mom, what's in your hand? My voice comes out steady despite the terror flooding my system. She pauses, her fingers still inside her purse. Just my insulin pen, sweetheart. You know I'm diabetic. But I know she's not diabetic. She's never been diabetic. Dad was pre-diabetic before he died, but Mom has always had perfect blood sugar levels. She brags about it every time we pass a diabetes awareness poster. Show me, I say. For a split second, something feral flickers across her face. Then she pulls out what does look like an insulin pen, holding it up like it's perfectly normal to brandish medical devices in apartment complex parking lots. See? You're so paranoid right now, baby. This is exactly what Dr. Reyes warned me about. Jessica grabs my arm. Sarah, we need to go. Now. But Mom steps closer, and I notice she's positioned herself between us and Jessica's car. Behind her, I spot a man in a gray uniform getting out of a white van. The logo on his shirt reads Medical Transport Services. You called an ambulance company, I breathe. Not an ambulance, honey. Just professional medical transport to take you safely to Dr. Henley's facility. I know this seems scary, but once you're feeling better, you'll understand I was only trying to protect you. The transport tech is walking toward us now, clipboard in hand. He looks bored, like this is routine for him. How many people has he taken to facilities against their will while their families stood by claiming it was for their own good? Ma'am, Sarah Chan, he asks, consulting his paperwork. I'm Tom from Secure Care Transport. Your mother arranged safe transport to Willow Creek for your intake appointment. I'm not going, I tell him directly. Tom looks uncomfortable for the first time. Ma'am, I have the proper authorization here. Signed by Dr. Marcus Reyes and your legal guardian. I'm 22 years old. She's not my legal guardian. Tom flips through his papers, frowning. Says here you're 19 and still a dependent due to mental incapacity. The blood drains from my face. Mom has falsified my age and legal status. If these documents look official enough, Tom might genuinely believe he has the legal right to take me. Check my ID, I say, pulling out my driver's license. I was born March 15, 2001. I'm 22. Tom compares my license to his paperwork, his confusion evident. Ma'am, there's a discrepancy here. Because my mother is lying to you. I keep my voice calm, professional. She's been secretly medicating me for 2 years, and now she's trying to have me institutionalized to cover it up. I have a police report filed with Detective Rodriguez at Orange County Sheriff's Department. Mom makes a small, pained sound. Oh, sweetheart. Tom, this is exactly the kind of paranoid delusion Dr. Reyes documented. She thinks I've been poisoning her food. I have blood test results proving therapeutic levels of lorazepam in my system, I tell Tom. Medication I never consented to take. Tom looks between us, clearly way out of his depth. Look, ladies, I think there's been some kind of mix-up. I'm going to need to contact my supervisor before. There's no mix-up, Mom says firmly. She's still holding that fake insulin pen, and now I notice her thumb is positioned over what would be the injection button. Sarah is very sick. She's been sending suicidal messages and making wild accusations. We need to get her help immediately. Mrs. Chen, Jessica speaks up for the first time, her voice shaking but determined. I was with Sarah all night. She never sent those messages. I have timestamped photos proving she was at the police station when you claimed she was texting you. Jessica, honey, I know Sarah's convinced you to believe her delusions, but... Show him the photos, I tell Jessica. Jessica pulls out her phone and shows Tom the pictures from last night, me sitting in the police station interview room, the timestamp clearly visible as 11:43 p.m. Tom studies the photos, then looks at the text messages on Mom's phone. Ma'am, these timestamps don't match up. Mom's composed mask finally cracks. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Trying to keep my daughter safe after losing my husband. Sometimes you have to make difficult choices. It's not quite a confession, but it's close enough that Tom takes a step back. I think I need to contact law enforcement, he says, reaching for his radio. That won't be necessary, Mom says quietly. Sarah, get in my car. Now. No. She raises the insulin pen, and I see her thumb move toward the injection mechanism. I said get in the car. Mrs. Chen, Tom says carefully, what's in that device? Mom doesn't answer, but her eyes are locked on mine with an intensity that makes my skin crawl. Jessica pulls out her phone. I'm calling 911. You'll ruin everything, Mom whispers, and for the first time, she sounds truly desperate. I've sacrificed everything for you, Sarah. Everything. The pen trembles in her hand. The insulin pen wavers in Mom's grip as sirens wail in the distance. Jessica's 911 call went through, and now we're all frozen in this horrible tableau, me backed against the apartment building wall, Tom the transport tech looking like he wants to disappear, and Mom realizing her carefully constructed plan is falling apart. Sarah, please, she whispers, lowering the pen slightly. Just come with me. We can work this out privately, as a family. What's in that pen? I ask again, my voice steadier than I feel. Before she can answer, 2 patrol cars pull into the parking lot, followed by an ambulance. Detective Rodriguez emerges from the first car, taking in the scene with sharp eyes. Mrs. Chen, I need you to put that device on the ground, she calls out, hand resting on her radio. Mom looks around wildly, seeming to realize for the first time that she's surrounded. Tom has backed away toward his van, clearly wanting no part of whatever's about to happen. The medical transport paperwork flutters to the ground in the morning breeze. Detective Rodriguez, I call out, relief flooding my voice. She was trying to force me into medical transport using falsified documents. Rodriguez approaches slowly, her attention split between Mom and the pen in her hand. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to place that on the ground and step back. It's insulin, Mom says, but her voice lacks conviction. I'm diabetic. Mrs. Chen, your medical records show no history of diabetes, Rodriguez replies. I pulled them this morning as part of my investigation. The color drains from Mom's face. She hadn't expected anyone to verify her lies this quickly. Ma'am, final warning. Put the device down now. Mom's shoulders slump in defeat. She sets the pen on the asphalt and steps away, suddenly looking older than her 52 years. One of the paramedics immediately moves forward to secure it. What's the substance? Rodriguez asks the paramedic examining the pen. Looks like ketamine, he replies after checking the label. 20 milligrams. Enough to incapacitate someone Sarah's size for several hours. My knees nearly give out. She wasn't just planning to manipulate me into the transport van, she was going to drug me unconscious and have me shipped off while I couldn't resist. Margaret Chen, you're under arrest for attempted assault with a controlled substance, falsification of legal documents, and conspiracy to commit false imprisonment. Rodriguez's voice is crisp, professional. As they read Mom her rights, Tom approaches me hesitantly. Miss, I'm really sorry about this. The paperwork looked legitimate, and we get court-ordered transports all the time. I had no idea. It's okay, I tell him, though my hands are still shaking. You were doing your job. He tears up the transport authorization and hands me the pieces. For what it's worth, I'm glad you had someone looking out for you. Jessica wraps her arm around my shoulders as we watch Mom being placed in the back of the patrol car. Even now, she's trying to maintain her dignity, sitting straight and composed like she's being driven to book club instead of jail. Ms. Chen, Detective Rodriguez approaches with the evidence bag containing the ketamine pen. We'll need a full statement, and I strongly recommend you get a restraining order filed today. Your mother posted a $50,000 bond on her house last night, which tells me she was planning something like this. She mortgaged the house? Second mortgage, taken out 3 days ago. Someone doesn't do that unless they're planning to disappear or need serious money fast. I watched the patrol car disappear around the corner, carrying away the woman who raised me, who taught me to ride a bike and helped with homework and slowly stole my life one breakfast at a time. My phone buzzes with a text from David Chin, asterisk saw the news about your mom's arrest. Are you okay? Do you need anything, asterisk? For the first time in 48 hours, I smile. The fog is lifting, and I can see clearly now. I'm free. 3 weeks after Mom's arrest, I'm sitting in Dr. Amanda Walsh's office, a therapist I chose myself, not one Mom selected, when she drops a bombshell that changes everything I thought I knew about my situation. Sarah, I've been reviewing your medical records and the evidence from your case. There's something we need to discuss about the timeline. Dr. Walsh sets down her tablet and looks at me directly. Your mother didn't start medicating you after your father died. She started much earlier. My stomach drops. What do you mean? I had your blood work analyzed by a specialist. The metabolites in your system suggest long-term exposure to lorazepam, potentially dating back 4 to 5 years. And there are traces of other medications. Zolpidem. Small amounts of risperidone. The room starts to spin. 4 to 5 years would put the start date around my junior year of high school. Back when I was applying to colleges, dreaming of Oxford, making plans that somehow never came to fruition. But I was fine in high school. I was valedictorian. Which makes this even more insidious, Dr. Walsh says gently. The dosing was likely much smaller initially, just enough to make you slightly more compliant, less likely to push back against your mother's suggestions. It probably escalated after your father's death when she became more desperate to keep you close. I think back to my senior year, trying to remember through the haze. There were so many moments when I'd changed my mind about things for reasons I couldn't quite articulate. The full scholarship to Northwestern that I turned down because the campus felt too overwhelming when we visited. The summer internship in Washington, D.C. that I'd been excited about until suddenly I wasn't. My college applications, I whisper. I applied to 15 schools and got into 12. But I kept finding reasons not to go to any of them. What kinds of reasons? The dorms seemed too small. The programs weren't quite right. The cities felt too dangerous. I pause, a memory surfacing. Mom always agreed with my concerns. She'd say things like trust your instincts, honey, and there's no rush to decide. Dr. Walsh nods grimly. Classic manipulation technique. Make the victim think the decisions are their own while systematically undermining their confidence. My phone buzzes with a text from Detective Rodriguez, asterisk court hearing moved to next Friday. DA wants to discuss additional charges based on new evidence. Can you come in tomorrow, asterisk? There's more evidence? I show Dr. Walsh the message. They'd probably found other victims. Sarah, your mother is a pediatric nurse. She's had access to controlled substances and vulnerable patients for 15 years. The implications hit me like a freight train. You think she's done this to other people? I think we need to find out. The next morning at the police station, Detective Rodriguez spreads a collection of incident reports across the conference table. Each one represents a family that contacted police after news of Mom's arrest broke. 3 former patients' families have come forward with concerns, Rodriguez explains. Children who were unusually sedated during extended hospital stays. Parents who noticed personality changes that doctors couldn't explain. I study the reports, my hands trembling. Emma Jimenez, age 8, cardiac surgery patient. Marcus Thompson, age 12, appendectomy complications. Sophia Gutierrez, age 6, broken femur from a car accident. They were all on Mom's unit? All under your mother's direct care during periods when they experienced unexplained behavioral changes. Emma's mother said her normally energetic daughter became listless and compliant for months after discharge. Marcus started having memory problems that his neurologist couldn't explain. Oh my God. I sink into a chair. She was practicing on them. Learning how to control people with medication. It gets worse. Rodriguez pulls out another file. We found journals in your mother's house during the search warrant execution. Detailed notes about dosages, behavioral observations, what she called medication management protocols. She slides a photocopy across the table. It's Mom's handwriting, neat and clinical, asterisk S showing resistance to local college suggestions. Increased evening dose to 0.5 milligrams for 3 days. Results, more agreeable to community college discussion. Consider maintaining elevated dose through application period, asterisk. The S is me. I'm reading documentation of my own manipulation like I'm a lab rat. There are entries going back 6 years, Rodriguez continues. Starting with what she called practice runs during your high school years. Short-term doses to influence specific decisions. I flip through more pages, each entry more horrifying than the last. Notes about my friends, asterisk David C. showing romantic interest in S. Increased dose before planned movie date resulted in cancellation. Monitor for future contact, asterisk. Notes about my ambitions, asterisk S. Researching study abroad programs again. 2-day elevated protocol resulted in shift toward local options. Success, asterisk. Notes about my father, asterisk Robert becoming suspicious about SS behavior changes. Consider reducing doses temporarily or increasing his anxiety medication to distract focus, asterisk. She was drugging Dad too? Rodriguez nods grimly. The autopsy from 3 years ago shows therapeutic levels of multiple anxiety medications in his system. But he died of a heart attack, and no one thought to question why a man with no history of anxiety was taking 3 different psychiatric medications. The room feels like it's tilting. You think she killed him? I think she was controlling him the same way she controlled you, and the combination of medications may have contributed to his cardiac event. The DA is considering additional charges. My phone rings. It's Jessica calling from her pre-med classes at UC Irvine, the school I was supposed to attend before Mom convinced me I wasn't ready for university-level work. Sarah? I just got out of pharmacology class and I've been thinking about your case. Has anyone tested you for other drugs? Because if your mom had access to a hospital pharmacy for years. What do you mean? I mean lorazepam and sleeping pills might just be the beginning. Depending on what she wanted to accomplish, she could have been using anything. Mood stabilizers to dampen your ambition. Antihistamines to make you drowsy. Even blood pressure medications to affect your energy levels. I put Jessica on speaker so Rodriguez can hear. The lab is running expanded drug screens now, Rodriguez tells her. Results should be back this afternoon. Good. Because Sarah, if she was systematically drugging you for years, your body might be dependent on things you don't even know about. You could experience withdrawal from medications you never knew you were taking. As if on cue, I feel a wave of nausea wash over me. I've been experiencing weird symptoms since Mom's arrest, headaches, dizziness, moments of intense anxiety followed by crushing fatigue. Dr. Walsh mentioned I might need medical supervision to safely withdraw from everything, I tell Jessica. You definitely do. Sarah, what your mother did, it's like she performed unauthorized medical experiments on her own family. The level of calculation and documentation suggests this went way beyond just wanting to keep you home. Rodriguez leans forward. What do you mean? I mean maybe control was just the beginning. Maybe she was studying the effects of long-term covert medication administration. Building a database of how different drugs affect behavior and decision-making. The thought makes my skin crawl. For what purpose? I don't know. But Sarah, your mother kept detailed records for 6 years. That's not impulsive behavior. That's research. My phone buzzes with a calendar notification, Oxford University application deadline, March 15th. I'd set that reminder years ago, back when I still believed I could study international relations in England. The deadline is in 2 weeks. For the first time in years, my mind feels sharp enough to actually complete an application. Detective Rodriguez, I say, looking up from my phone, how long before the trial? Probably 8 to 12 months, depending on how many charges the DA files. And I'm free to travel? To leave the state? As long as you're available for court dates, yes. Why? I smile, feeling something I haven't felt in years, genuine excitement about my future. Because I have some applications to submit. The Oxford application portal crashes twice before I finally managed to submit it at 11:47 p.m. on March 14th, exactly 3 years and 8 months after I first started it. My personal statement, written in a single fevered session, tells the truth, how I lost years of my life to systematic medication without consent, how I'm reclaiming my dreams despite the stolen time, how I want to study international law to help other victims of domestic abuse. It feels like resurrection. 3 days later, Dr. Walsh calls with news that changes everything again. Sarah, the extended drug screening came back. I need you to sit down. I'm already sitting in Jessica's apartment, but I grip the phone tighter. What did they find? 17 different substances. Sarah, your mother wasn't just trying to control you, she was conducting systematic pharmaceutical trials. The combinations and dosing patterns suggest she was testing drug interactions on you. The list she reads makes my blood run cold. Antihistamines to cause drowsiness. Beta blockers to reduce energy and motivation. Mild antipsychotics to dampen emotional responses. Even thyroid medication to slow my metabolism and cognitive function. Some of these combinations are dangerous, Dr. Walsh continues. The fact that you survived without serious organ damage is remarkable. How is that possible? Wouldn't doctors have noticed during my annual checkups? That's the truly calculating part. She used medications that affect symptoms doctors would attribute to other causes. Fatigue? Stress from your father's death. Weight gain? Freshman 15. Memory problems? Academic pressure. She had a medical explanation for every side effect. I think about all those doctor visits where Mom insisted on coming into the exam room with me. How she'd answer questions before I could, describing my symptoms in clinical terms that made me sound depressed rather than drugged. Dr. Walsh, there's something else. Detective Rodriguez found journals going back 6 years. Mom was documenting everything like a research study. Silence. Then, Sarah, I need to ask you something difficult. Were you ever examined by your mother at home? Did she ever take blood pressure, temperature, pulse readings more often than seemed normal? My stomach drops as memories surface. She took my blood pressure every Sunday morning for years. Said it was because high blood pressure runs in families, but Dad's family had no history of that. She was monitoring your vital signs to track medication effects. The realization hits like a physical blow. I was her lab rat. I'm afraid it's worse than that. I've been consulting with colleagues about your case, and we think your mother may have been building documentation for something bigger. The level of detail in her records suggests she was planning to publish or present this data somehow. Publish what data? Case studies on covert long-term medication administration. Sarah, there are researchers who study medication compliance, behavioral modification through pharmaceutical intervention. If your mother was documenting successful long-term control of an unwilling subject. I drop the phone. Jessica catches it before it hits the floor. Dr. Walsh? This is Jessica Martinez, Sarah's friend. Can you repeat what you just said? I can hear Dr. Walsh's voice through the speaker, explaining how Mom might have been planning to present her research at medical conferences or submit it to psychiatric journals. How I wasn't just a daughter to control, I was a test subject for a study on involuntary behavioral modification. My phone buzzes with an email notification from Oxford University. Asterisk, dear Ms. Chen, thank you for your application to our international relations program. We would like to invite you for an interview via video conference next week, asterisk. I stare at the email through tears that are part horror, part relief, part pure determination. Jess, I whisper, I think I'm going to England. Good, she says fiercely. Get as far away from this nightmare as possible. But first, I have one more phone call to make. The interview with Oxford goes better than I ever imagined. Professor Catherine Mills, head of the International Relations Program, listens intently as I explain my unconventional path to their application portal. When I finish, she's quiet for a long moment. Ms. Chen, in 30 years of admissions interviews, I've never heard anything quite like this, she says finally. Your personal statement mentioned systematic medication without consent, but the scope of what you described. She shakes her head. How are you functioning academically after such prolonged pharmaceutical manipulation? That's what I'm trying to figure out, I admit. My cognitive function has improved dramatically since stopping the medications, but I'm working with doctors to understand the long-term effects. I know my transcript from the past 2 years doesn't reflect my actual capabilities. Your high school records tell a different story entirely. Valedictorian, National Honor Society, fluent in 3 languages. Professor Mills reviews something on her screen. Tell me about your research interests now that you have clarity again. Medical ethics in family contexts. International frameworks for prosecuting domestic pharmaceutical abuse. I want to understand how legal systems handle cases where family members exploit medical access to commit systematic abuse. Her eyebrows raise. Quite specific. For obvious reasons. Professor Mills, if I'm accepted, I'd like to eventually write my dissertation on covert medication as a form of domestic control. I think there are more cases like mine that go undetected because the victims don't realize they're being drugged. After the interview ends, I sit in Jessica's kitchen feeling cautiously hopeful for the first time in years. My phone buzzes with a text from Detective Rodriguez, *, need to meet today. New development in your mother's case, *. 2 hours later, I'm back in the familiar conference room at the police station. Rodriguez looks grim as she spreads fresh documents across the table. Sarah, we've been investigating your mother's computer files and found something disturbing. She was in contact with other people. Other families. My blood runs cold. What kind of contact? Online forums for parents dealing with difficult adult children. She was sharing techniques for what she called behavioral modification and compliance management. Look at this. She shows me printed screenshots of forum posts under the username MedicalMom47. The posts detail methods for crushing pills into food, tracking behavioral changes, and dealing with resistant children who want to move away from home. She was teaching other parents how to drug their kids? It gets worse. We found private message exchanges where she was offering to mail medication samples to other forum members. Sarah, your mother may have been supplying controlled substances to parents across the country. I feel sick. How many families? We've identified at least 12 direct contacts, but the forum had over 300 active members. The FBI is taking over this part of the investigation. Rodriguez slides another document toward me. There's something else. Your mother's lawyer contacted us about a plea agreement. What kind of plea agreement? She wants to provide information about the other families in exchange for reduced charges on your case. But Sarah, there's a condition. She wants a face-to-face meeting with you. Absolutely not. I told her lawyer that would be your response. But I have to present you with the offer. She claims there's something about your father's death that you need to know. My hands start shaking. What about his death? She won't say unless you agree to meet with her. Her lawyer says it involves other family members. Other family members. My mind races through possibilities. Dad's sister in Portland, who stopped calling after the funeral. Mom's brother in San Diego, who used to visit every Christmas until 3 years ago. Detective Rodriguez, did anyone in my extended family ever express concerns about my behavior changes? Funny you should ask. She pulls out another file. Your Aunt Linda called yesterday. Apparently she tried to reach out multiple times over the past 2 years, but your mother always said you were too busy with school or going through a difficult phase. Aunt Linda tried to contact me? More than that. She tried to visit last Christmas, but your mother told her you were in the hospital with pneumonia. Linda called the hospital to send flowers and they had no record of you being a patient. The manipulation runs deeper than I imagined. Mom didn't just drug me, she systematically isolated me from anyone who might notice the changes or offer alternative perspectives. There's more, Rodriguez continues. Linda said your father called her 2 weeks before he died. He was worried about your sudden personality changes and wanted her advice about getting you professional help. He suspected something was wrong but couldn't figure out what. Tears start flowing before I can stop them. Dad knew. In his final weeks, he was trying to protect me from the same person who was probably medicating him too. What did Aunt Linda tell him? To trust his instincts and document everything. She was planning to visit and observe your behavior herself when your father had his heart attack. My phone buzzes with an email from Oxford, *Dear MS. Chen, we are pleased to offer you conditional acceptance to our international relations program, pending final transcripts and medical clearance, *. I stare at the acceptance letter through my tears, feeling Dad's presence like he's cheering me on from somewhere beyond Mom's reach. Detective Rodriguez, I say, wiping my eyes, set up the meeting with my mother. I want to hear what she has to say about Dad. Are you sure? I'm sure. But I have one condition of my own, I want Aunt Linda there as a witness. For the first time since this nightmare began, I'm going to face Mom with backup she can't manipulate or control. The meeting with Mom is scheduled for tomorrow morning, and I haven't slept in 36 hours. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face in that parking lot, holding the ketamine pen like it was perfectly normal to drug your own daughter into unconsciousness. Aunt Linda arrived from Portland this afternoon, and seeing her walk into Jessica's apartment felt like getting a piece of my real family back. She looks exactly like Dad, same dark eyes, same stubborn jawline, and when she hugged me, I smelled his cologne in the fabric of her sweater. Sarah, honey, you look so thin, she says, settling onto Jessica's couch with a cup of tea. But your eyes are clearer than they've been in years. When I saw you at your father's funeral, you seemed so distant. Foggy. That's because I was heavily medicated and didn't know it, I tell her. Linda, what did Dad say when he called you? Detective Rodriguez mentioned he was worried about my behavior changes. Linda sets down her tea and pulls out her phone. I kept the voicemail he left. I couldn't bring myself to delete it after he died. She presses play, and suddenly Dad's voice fills the tiny apartment. Linda, it's Robert. I need to talk to you about Sarah. Something's not right. She's been sleeping 12 hours a day, forgetting conversations we had the day before. Yesterday she couldn't remember applying to Northwestern, and when I showed her the acceptance letter, she looked at it like she'd never seen it before. Margaret keeps saying it's just stress from senior year, but... His voice breaks slightly. Linda, I think my daughter is disappearing, and I don't know how to get her back. The voicemail ends, and I'm sobbing so hard I can't breathe. Jessica rubs my back while Linda holds my hands. He knew, I whisper. Dad knew something was wrong. There's more, Linda says gently. The day before he died, your father called me again. He said he'd been watching Margaret prepare your food, and he was starting to suspect she was putting something in it. He was planning to take samples to a lab for testing. My blood runs cold. He was going to expose her. I think so. And Sarah, there's something else. Your father updated his life insurance policy 2 weeks before he died. He changed the beneficiary from your mother to you, and he set up an educational trust that Margaret can't touch. Almost like he was protecting your future from her. Does Mom know about the insurance change? I don't think so. The paperwork went to his office, not your house. But sweetheart, that money could pay for Oxford, for graduate school, for whatever you want to do with your life. I think about the acceptance letter in my email, about Professor Mills asking whether I'd need financial aid. Dad found a way to help me even after death, even while being systematically poisoned by his own wife. My phone rings, Detective Rodriguez. Sarah, we have a problem. Your mother's lawyer just called. She's withdrawing the plea offer. What? Why? They won't say, but the meeting is off. Sarah, something spooked her. My guess is someone warned her that we found the insurance policy information. Aunt Linda grabs my arm. What insurance policy information? I put Rodriguez on speaker. Detective, my aunt just told me that my father changed his life insurance beneficiary before he died. Made me the sole recipient and created an educational trust. Jesus Christ, Rodriguez mutters. Sarah, that's motive for murder. If your mother found out about the policy change. The implications hit like a truck. Mom didn't just drug Dad to keep him compliant, she may have killed him to prevent him from exposing her and to maintain control over the family finances. Detective Rodriguez, what happens now that she's withdrawn the plea offer? We proceed to trial with the original charges. But Sarah, if we can prove she knew about the insurance policy, the DA might add murder charges related to your father's death. After I hang up, the three of us sit in stunned silence. Finally, Linda speaks. Sarah, there's something your father asked me to give you if anything ever happened to him. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a small silver key. He said it opens a safety deposit box at First National Bank downtown. Box 247. He made me promise to make sure you got this when you turned 21, but... She trails off. But Mom made sure I never saw you after the funeral. Linda nods. I tried so many times to reach you. Christmas cards returned to sender. Phone calls that went straight to voicemail. Your mother told everyone you were going through a difficult adjustment period and needed space. I stare at the key, feeling Dad's presence again. Whatever he left in that safety deposit box, he wanted to make sure only I could access it. Tomorrow morning, before facing whatever new horrors await at Mom's trial, I'm going to find out what my father was trying to tell me. The safety deposit box contains everything Dad couldn't say while he was alive. Bank statements showing Mom had been slowly draining his accounts for 3 years. Medical records documenting his concerns about unexplained fatigue and memory issues that began right after I graduated high school. And most damning of all, a manila envelope labeled "For Sarah," evidence of Margaret's activities. Inside are photos he'd secretly taken of Mom crushing pills into the cinnamon container. Copies of her nursing station keycard logs showing she'd accessed the hospital pharmacy during off hours dozens of times. And a letter in his handwriting that makes my hands shake. Asterisk Sarah, if you're reading this, something has happened to me and I wasn't able to protect you in time. Your mother has been medicating both of us without our knowledge for at least 2 years. I've documented everything I could find, but I need you to know that you are not crazy, not lazy, not broken. You are brilliant and capable and deserve a life she can't control. The insurance money will give you freedom. Use it. Love, Dad, asterisk. At the bottom, he'd written the phone number for Detective Rodriguez, 3 years before I ever met her. He was already building a case, Rodriguez says when I call her from the bank parking lot. Sarah, this changes everything. Can you bring those documents to the station immediately? 2 hours later, I'm watching Rodriguez and the DA examine Dad's evidence while Aunt Linda sits beside me, tears streaming down her face. This is premeditation, the DA says grimly. She was systematically poisoning her husband while he was investigating her abuse of their daughter. The timing of his cardiac event, right after he gathered this evidence. Can you prove she killed him? I ask. With this documentation and the updated insurance policy, we can make a strong case. Sarah, your father essentially solved his own murder. My phone buzzes with an email from Professor Mills at Oxford, asterisk Ms. Chen, we understand you're dealing with extraordinary circumstances. Your place in our program will be held until you're ready. Take the time you need, asterisk. 6 months later, I'm sitting in a London cafe near Oxford campus, video calling into Mom's sentencing hearing. The jury convicted her on all charges, systematic poisoning, attempted kidnapping, insurance fraud, and second-degree murder in Dad's death. The judge is reading her sentence now. Margaret Chen, you have been found guilty of one of the most calculating and prolonged cases of domestic abuse this court has seen. You stole years from your daughter's life, poisoned your husband, and attempted to have your own child forcibly committed to cover your crimes. I hereby sentence you to 25 years to life in state prison. Through the video screen, I watch Mom's face crumple. For the first time in my life, she looks genuinely powerless. Detective Rodriguez appears on camera. Sarah? The judge wants to know if you'd like to make a victim impact statement. I think about everything I could say, about the stolen dreams, the manipulated relationships, the years of questioning my own sanity. But I realize I don't need to give her any more of my words. Tell the court I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, I say instead. After the hearing ends, I close my laptop and look out at the Oxford campus where students are heading to afternoon lectures. Tomorrow I start my first class, International Law and Human Rights. Professor Mills has already approved my dissertation topic, Covert Pharmaceutical Abuse in Domestic Settings, a Framework for Legal Recognition and Prevention. My phone buzzes with a text from David Chin, asterisk saw the news about the sentencing. Proud of you for rebuilding your life. Still want to catch that movie when you're back for Christmas? Asterisk. I smile and text back, asterisk, how do you feel about foreign films? I know a great cinema in London, asterisk. Some stories end with revenge. Others end with justice. The best ones end with freedom. I have work to do, dreams to chase, and a life to live exactly as I choose. For the first time in years, the fog is completely gone, and I can see forever.